September 28, 1952, the very first worship service in the Amoy dialect was held with 42 people attending. The speaker that afternoon was Reverend Raymond Frame, and he preached on a message entitled Peace.
Grace Gospel Church started unofficially in 1949 at the house of Mrs. Julia Tan. There were 20 people who attended.
Until 1 year later, they moved to the Grace Christian High School auditorium, because at that time, Dr. Edwin Spar and Mrs. Julia Tan started the school.
Go back to Dr. Spar. Go back to Ikang. Go back to Pisu Kai Dr. Frame. Dr. Frame 當時嘅時陣，伊是用 Mandarin 講咱嘅國語所以國語講真正好雖然伊是一個應該是美國人
Reverend Raymond Frame started with I think the vision and the passion for starting the church. Mrs. Julia Tan was a founder who believed that this school, as well as a Chinese church, would fit perfectly into God's plan. Elder Henry Ko, who was an administrator, he was a businessman, and he was a teacher, he added his expertise in organization and management.
I think Pastor Chenkor was also already there. Actually, I was baptized by Reverend Chenkor without going through the baptismal class, because at that point my family members are not Christians, and I think I would not be allowed to get baptized if I notify them. So Reverend Chenkor said, "It's okay, go ahead," okay? And therefore my cousin and I, we were baptized in a quote-unquote secretly. However, my mom found that out 1 week after, right away.
And then afterwards came some interim pastors, such as Reverend Franklin Lee and Reverend Joshua Lam. Then afterwards, there was Reverend Vicente Lo, who served from 1983 to around 1990, to be followed by Reverend David Go.
The elders, from the start, I know that Elder Henry Ko was very much a part of it. And then there is also Elder Xiao Chan Tiong. I also met him, when he was here before he passed away. And Elder Horner Chen, the father-in-law of Elder Tan Chi, as well as some others. And then later on, we have many deacons who are very faithful. A lot of them are now in North America.
Well, I went to Sunday school. And then during summer, I enjoyed the DVBS. And when I was growing up, there was the youth fellowship. And then, of course, the summer conferences. Then I also remember all of those missions conference. I remember there was a lot of people, Bible women, visiting us in the home.
The early church leaders, they were very strategic. The Lord gave them wisdom. So they started the prison ministry. They also have a radio ministry. They have a literature ministry. The Grace Monthly, was started very early.
Well, since I joined Grace Gospel Church, there was a time that we started the young couples fellowship, the young family, aiming to help the young couples, newly married people, to how to adjust to the married life, how to bring up godly children. And I also see the worship team has grown all these years. From the standard piano and organ, we now do have drums, guitars, and other acoustic piano, which do bring a lot of life and enjoyment to the worshipers.
Some of the new ministries that have been added includes the sports ministry, which is headed by our deacon Hans D. And then, of course, there's the Sampaloc Chunghwa Ministry, which started with a student center located just a few blocks or a few meters away from the school.
Way back in Nactahan, we have this auditorium. It's a wooden house, and the auditorium is wooden. And I can still remember those days. My mom brought me to the services, and we sing very solemn songs. The sermons was in Chinese, Hokkien, and in Mandarin, some of them. And they were long and meaty sermons. We never complained, and I understood. I got to soak it in. I got to understand it. And that's how it went.
In 1965, it moved to the Santa Mesa area. The church building cost 380,000 pesos at that time. The church was very friendly. People know each other. And because it was a small church, there was a lot of concern, encouragement, and helping one another.
Reverend Mark Korcheng had this we could say, a burning desire that the gospel of Jesus Christ, or the Great Commission, be proclaimed. That was why he emphasized that there should be evangelism inside the church, and at the same time, that the church should be a part in world missions. That was why we organized the Grace Evangelical Association. It was because the church saw the need for missions to be a part of the lifeblood of the church.
Alan kêu say định huy tong a Grace Gospel Church. The grace is that we have received the grace of God, and then we know the gospel, and it is our duty to really preach the gospel, and that is the role of the church. So a church are composed of sinners saved by grace, and this time they have really to go out.
Well, Grace Gospel Church has a mission that all may glorify God in worship and as holy witnesses. Now, we seek to reach all men with the gospel, particularly the Philippines ethnic Chinese group. We accept them into fellowship, challenge them for Christ-like maturity, and to equip them to minister the church and to participate in evangelisms and missions.
较早咱开始聚会的时阵，是这个礼拜堂，但是咱已经有该装修了，所以较早哦，这个礼拜堂是较小淡薄。但是迄个时阵，大家人拢真正欢喜，因为有机会来到圣达梅萨。这个教会是地方教会，所以田国牧师迄阵有鼓励讲，咱既然伫这个圣达梅萨，咱有一个地方的教会，咱就是伫附近将福音传开。招请厝边的人来参加教会。
I think these are all part of the Lord's plan, okay? From Grace Christian High School, first we have Grace Bible Church, the English congregation, and then they started the Chinese congregation, which is the Grace Gospel Church today. And after Grace Christian High School moved to Grace Village, it's quite a distance away, so they think of starting a new church there, and they called it Grace Christian Church. But all these years, I think each church has been independent, and we're just like sister churches.
I remember when I first came in as a college student, we only had Chinese ministry and Chinese worship service. Long trong cái si tiong bun ko ho, usi chun si eng kogi Mandarin, usi chun si eng meng wei ko ho.
The church is it's a lot smaller than what we have now. I remember, if my memory is correct, it's around 200 plus, I would think. We only have one service, and it's translated to English or Chinese. And we do have a lot of fellowship during that time.
When I was attending here at Grace Gospel Church, it was still a full Chinese service. That was my very first experience when I attended worship here. But in a matter of a few years, the church started the bilingual service, of which I attended. That was where I felt very much at home with.
It was during our 40th anniversary that I threw out, or threw a question or maybe a challenge to our congregation. How about let's establish at least or plant at least one church every 10 years?
And so we prayed about it, and 19 years ago, we started going to Novaliches, and we had our first DBBS.
It was not very easy, okay, but I praise God, He gave us the endurance. So from a time when we rented a house until later we moved to Jeroma and Congressional, and then now in the present site.
I have many things to be thankful for. I think the top three, I will just name the top three, or we might end at midnight. The top three, I think, would be number one, the Lord has given this church great leaders, particularly good elders and deacons. I can say that some of the best Christians that I have met, are here in this church, and they are elders who are faithful in their service. They give their best to the Lord, the best of their years, the best of their resources. Secondly, I would say, all these years the Lord has given us the unity. Although in diverse, we have very young people, we have very old people, Western, Orientals, but yet we are always, one. You can see that in our board meeting. I have been sitting in the board, for over 27 years. Not once have we really quarreled about anything. We may have some animated discussions concerning some things, but never had we quarreled or parted ways. Kankosim asi bohwahi ko. So that would be the second thing that I would thank the Lord for. And then probably another thing is the Lord has given us a strong pulpit and strong Christian education. In that is the foundation of every church. The pulpit has to be pure and strong. The children, the young people, has to be grounded in the Word.
Let me just say, I think in the coming years, we will be focusing very much in intentional discipleship so that our people will grow stronger relationship with Jesus Christ. And this is very much with the intention or the objective to be able to evangelize, do the work of evangelization and missions.